didn't expect this.
Activity documents open. I guess I have a sixth grade over here and sixth grade over here. I hear you.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Let's go ahead and stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Heather, would you mind leading us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the advisory board. Does any member of the advisory board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter, and it appears there are not any actual or apparent conflicts of interest. The mission statement is the Charter Schools Advisory Board works to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. Right next, we will have February minutes. I think I sent one slight change in on it, but does anybody else have any additions, deletions, corrections? We got them pretty quickly after the meeting. While they were fresh, so. All right, then,
I move that we approve the minutes.
all right, we've got a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. Do you want to go ahead and just have the policy committee now approve the policy committee minutes from Thursday's meeting?
If we can, we have the distinct pleasure and honor of having our new State Board of Ed legislative liaison
I
with
was
us.
going to introduce him in just
Okay.
a second after we finish this little
Okay.
bit of business.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But
if
we
that's
want- he
okay.
was
Well,
gonna
go ahead, Freeburg, come on up.
speak to us first. Freeburg
Introduce yourself.
McKinney took Cecilia Holden's place, and we're really excited about having him on board at DPI with his enthusiasm and his talent.
Thank you very
Happy to
much,
have you.
sir.
And and I will say, before you speak, Freebird has been extremely inclusive when it comes to charter school teachers of the year. He was a teacher of the year, and he did a great job with Courtney, and then including Doug and a lot of things. We really appreciate you being as inclusive as you've been.
Oh, absolutely, yes, no, definitely. And I didn't really have any remarks prepared, just greatly looking forward to working with you all and closing opportunity gaps and providing equitable access for all of our students to have that high-quality education here in North Carolina. So, and as you were saying, I've had the great fortune to work with both Courtney Samuelson and Doug here over the last 2 years, and we've had some great opportunities to tour schools and to see the amazing things that our educators are doing within our charter schools here. So I'm a bridge builder, so I look forward to working with each and every one of you and obviously on this board. So thank you very much.
And I could
you for
vouch for
being
this
here.
guy. He's top notch right here. Does a great job.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're glad to have you on board at DPI and look forward to seeing some good legislation come out.
Ditto, ditto. So please, if I can help in any way, please reach out. And I wanted to be here today just to kind of see the flow of a meeting, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
you.
Thank you.
Let's do this for the policy committee, just the policy committee, so I'll leave y'all behind for a second. Did y'all have a chance to review the minutes from there? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the policy committee minutes from Thursday? All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, so those minutes will be approved then as well. Next is the approval of the March agenda. We've got a good-looking agenda here. We may, I don't know if we want to move something around. I guess Alex should be here anytime he has stuff in traffic, so he's coming in. So we'll entertain a motion to approve the March agenda.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. I guess let's go ahead and jump into the charter application timeline. I hate to do that without Alex here, but he'll catch up quick.
I've also placed paper copies at your binders if you wanted to like write on it as you guys discuss it.
Good morning.
Morning.
With the goal from the February meeting of adding in more lead time for the applicants to have before school opening, the committee for the application timeline met with my predecessor Danielle and with Dave and looked through outlining everything which you have before you. So the goal of this is, a high-level overview is that by December of 2020, January of 2021, everybody would be notified who submits an application as to whether they were approved or not, right? And so if you go back, jump into, on May 4th is when the application timeline would open. June 29th, all applications would be due. That is the first big change from the last application timeline. So on June 29th, all applications would be due. And you can kind of walk through how it would be set up. The big piece is, as it was mentioned in the last CSAB meeting, is it's all based on how many applications we actually receive. There was some discussion about the anticipation would be about the same number as last year, which would make this timeline work. If it doubled, it would be a bigger challenge. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, never mind, I figured it out, I'm in the wrong year. I'm in the wrong year.
Okay. So any questions from what you're looking at?
So I guess I have a question. We just had final approval in March this year. So this has got final approval in April. I mean, that seems like a month later.
It's our goal to get it to CSAP and then to state board by, so they can vote on it in either December, maybe January. So we want them approved by February. This is just in case there's more applications than we anticipate, but it is the goal to get it to state board, hopefully December, January, and they discussion 1 month and vote. And of course, if they send some back, then that makes it go a little bit longer for the,
Right.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the April deadline for was, any that were sent back.
Right. My suggestion would be to add under February 2021, State Board of Ed approval of applications with a note that any reconsidered would then follow that March, April timeline. So we'd have the opportunity to give final approval in February of 2021 if there are no, questions or pushback from the state board.
Okay.
So that I think helps answer Stephen's question about moving the approval process up.
So, I mean, it would be January if they didn't return any of our
Right.
things. So if we all worked really hard and came to such grand consensus on every one of them and they were unanimous, then probably
It'd be done.
we wouldn't have as many, but, okay, I mean, I think it's fine to build some cushion in there.
Okay, so you're planning to do interviews in August?
I
Fast
think
track.
that's when we would
For fast
start.
track.
We, we haven't, traditionally, we haven't met in August, because our July meeting is so late. It's our, goal to work with leadership to see, do we need to have the August meeting or not? We're thinking about maybe our July meeting, which we have with the association, might be an all-day meeting to go over some of these apps, so we want that flexibility, but we're putting it in August meetings because we're getting these applications sooner, but we understand that with school starting, that's not a good month to meet.
So I think maybe we could have some line in here before the state board votes on this, or, along the lines of, this timeline is subject to, the Charter School Advisory Board can, we could do, like, let's say we get 10 applications, we don't need to meet in August. We get 70 applications, we're probably gonna need to meet in August, So I think, just making sure that we have some flexibility in here, because I think really in the end, I know the state board approves this, but really the thing they care about is when are the recommendations coming to us? I don't think they care so much about what we do as far as the timeline to get it to them. So,
Is there a way we can move the August meeting around, whether maybe the very first week or maybe towards the end of that month or something?
I think we can do whatever we need to do, as long as we can get the room.
I think that would work better for us starting back to school.
We open the second.
So do we. We open the
The days
10th.
that we normally would be here,
Would
that
be
would be
when
my
you're-
first and second day of school.
If
Me
we did
too.
more
So
than
we
the
could-
end of August.
Yeah.
Could probably push it back to the end of August
Yeah.
if we needed.
We can work with leadership on the actual schedule and obviously make a recommendation to this board about those dates. The challenge is that the July meeting is always at the end of the month, so then, what we're gonna do with August, but we'll be very conscious of school starting.
Where are they having the conference this year?
Wilmington,
So schools could come, people who are applying could come.
Just a clarification, I think I know the answer to this, but if you apply for fast track or acceleration, there is no turning back. That's where,
Right.
right. In fast track,
Well,
legislatively,
accelerate.
fast track, we have to get that to state board in 120 days. Acceleration, there is no statute for that, but we will give them preference, priority also if they want to be in acceleration. But yes, we'll do the same as we did last year, where if you ask for an accelerated application, that if it's approved, fine. If it's not, you have to come back the next year.
I think with Fast Track too, everybody was excited about Fast Track, and then everybody figured out that it's hard to get a building open in 2 years,
Right.
much less in 9 months, just because of how slow everything goes.
I guess I don't mean to harp on this issue, there may be a nuance to that statement though, Dave. If you applied for acceleration and you were denied, you cannot go back and ask, but what is from the moment I check the box, it says this is an acceleration. If they change their mind even before they came before us, is that allowed?
No.
And once they check that box, they're locked in.
Correct.
Okay.
Check the box and submit, I think you're locked in.
Yeah.
Because and I guess that was to fix the problem we had when everybody found out you get an answer quicker with an accelerated school. We had a whole bunch of accelerated schools all of a sudden. They were like, well, we just decided we don't want to be accelerated now. And it's like, but we're going to get your recommendation 3 months before everybody else. So, yeah. And I think that's good because I think it shows that they've actually thought through what they're doing. Yeah. to know that if you're not eligible for acceleration, your application is just denied.
I haven't completed a full year in this process, but it seems to me that the round one, round two concept that is new this year,
It is.
that terminology.
Yeah.
Is it a replacement for the clarification full? Is it just a different title?
Yeah, what
Or
it
is it
is,
actually a different process?
well, it's a different process. So what we discussed at the last meeting, at the February meeting, was having, where you would have a round one, and basically everybody's involved. It won't be at a committee review. And Dave, or you correct me if I get this wrong. We won't have a committee review, that everybody will be ready to review it. They'll review it. We may, at the end of round one, basically it's decision time. Either this application's not ready and doesn't need further review, this application needs a little bit more review before we can make a decision, or this application is ready and doesn't need any further review. And so then you would either deny, have a second round interview, or approve
Okay.
at that point. So instead of, because I think what we found is with some of the clarifications, when we're done with clarification, everybody's like, this school's getting approved. It's getting approved, but then we're gonna go through and do an hour interview, when we really didn't have those questions. And the reason we did that is because the only people that had read the interview was either this side of the room or that side of the room. So now with all of us doing it, we can go ahead and make a decision a little earlier on.
Okay.
And to try to, another thing that was discussed too is sometimes when you have a clarification interview and then you'd say, well, that's not a clarification question, and bring back, so it's basically like Mr. Walker said, a full interview one and then a full interview two, if that's what's needed.
I have a question on the June 29th. It says all online applications are due, so that's everybody, fast track, acceleration, everything, correct?
Yes.
And then down below, it says fast track, acceleration applications are required to request online access by June 22nd. And then online, it's July 20th.
So that's what I did wrong too, that's the next year, that's 22, 23.
For opening.
Yeah, it's for the next year. Basically, it's because, am I right that next year, the plan is to move things up even more?
It is, but that's, getting access to Epicenter. The fast track ones need to, get access to June 22nd. The 22-23 is just it's the applicants that are gonna be still applying next year, but are gonna go through their planning year. And they need to have access to, by July 20th, which might be a little too late.
Well, yeah, because they're due on June 29th.
Yeah, we might need to move that up a little bit
You're gonna have
also.
to.
Does your application have to be in Epicenter to submit it?
It has to be in by,
So if it has to be there by June 29th,
Right.
you don't get access to July 20, you guys,
yeah, we need to change that.
that was what I was asking before, but.
I mean,
Yeah,
I understand
that's
it's a
smart.
regular application for, year, regular planning, whatever, but it's still gotta have access at the same time.
Yeah, I think both of them just need to be June 22nd.
Okay.
I think that's just a vestige of the old,
Yeah.
where we had different submission dates.
But everybody's submitting at the same time.
So just to clarify again, so we may, when we do interview one, if the application is deemed really good application, we might not do the second interview.
Right.
We may just pass it on at that point. Or on the flip side, if the application is not good at all, and we don't wanna move forward, then we would.
And the plan that Mr. Walker alluded to is the following year, it's our goal to move this up even earlier, where we might even start looking at applications in March, where a lot of the work is done over the summer. Our goal is to get these applications to the State Board of Ed, where we can give schools almost a year and a half to get ready instead of the slate. But obviously, the timeline this year wouldn't allow us to do that. So we'll be coming back with you with something probably in several months to move it even earlier, but, right now, we're just moving it up 1 month again.
So we would start having meetings in July, just in August.
Yes, discussion that we had was, we meet with the association at the end of July, and that's usually a pretty quick half-day meeting. This might be an all-day meeting where we're starting to look at these apps. And then there was discussion before you got here, Mr. Quigley, about August being a tough month to meet because of school starting, and right now we have a August meeting in this timeline, but we want to have the flexibility to not have it if it's possible. So July would be like the beginning of the big lift.
Have we been, I guess we've had a quorum at the July meetings. Generally, people have been able to make those.
Yeah, most everybody's able to make it, and this year it's going to be in Wilmington.
Right. You'll be in Germany? All right. That's exciting. So when would we have the applications to start reviewing them?
Yeah, that's-
For that
that's gonna be
meeting
a
in
quick
July.
turnaround.
Conferences,
They don't turn it in until June 29th. And the reviewers have to do them before us. We aren't even gonna have about July meeting, are we?
You would, the timeline that we have that's a little more detailed for in-house is on July 6th. They would be sent out to the external reviewers. The timeline for them to review them is gonna be about 8 days. So it's much shorter to get that month in.
July 20th is the conference.
The conference is the 20th?
I'm sorry, the 19th or 20th.
If they meet on the, well, it opens on the
It's usually
19th,
on a
but the
Sunday.
Monday would be that meeting.
But I think
Give
it's,
us much time.
well, I think, and part of the idea is that we're gonna, look through them and then look through them together as well. Spend a substantial amount of time going through them together while we're looking at them as well as what we do on our own.
Will that be our process this year, to have a work day or two?
I think
That's
that's
what
pretty
I would
much what
like to
July
do.
through September is. I mean, that's,
So there's not an expectation to read it in advance. We're gonna go through them when people are here.
I think you wanna do your homework. But I think that, we're gonna go pretty in-depth down on it. I mean, I'm not, that was
I
my
mean,
understanding
yeah.
of what we talked about.
if we're getting the first review in July, I thought we had said we would have like a work day.
Yeah,
Would that be July?
Again, we felt like that was, that didn't necessarily need state board approval. That would be an internal discussion that this board would have, or leadership would. And we thought maybe the meeting in July would be one of those one-day or looks, yeah.
So not actual interviews during that time.
No. There's gonna be any interviews in
No.
July, right?
Okay.
I mean, I think really anything after the due date, we've got the ability to adapt.
Right.
So, I mean, I think what happens after that is not as important. I mean, after the due date, we know we've got a due date, we've got a date, we wanna get it to the state board, and then we can say, okay, how do we best, get that done as far as, we would have, if we had an August, meeting where we do 2 days, and we did interviews one day and we did reviews one day, I think we've got a lot of flexibility in this.
We haven't done I'm not sick. It's okay. we haven't done chest congestion. Come on. So,
I'm not afraid.
so we have we done a letter of intent yet, or requested letters of intent yet?
We haven't done a letter of intent probably in about 4 or 5 years.
We have. I wasn't
Oh.
sure. I was like,
It used to be statutorily required.
Yeah, it was
We get asked to do letter of intents most, a lot of times from
Seems like
more
redundant.
EMOs and CMOs to find out where, but we haven't done that since I've been here, and
okay.
and we don't feel like there's a need
There's
for
no
that.
need. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good.
One more deadline.
Stupid question. Yeah. I mean, my preference would be to have a day where a work day where we're alleviating the amount of reading that's being done, and we're going in more depth as a team into the applications. We're asking questions. If possible, external evaluators are physically there or on the line during that review process. But we're not making any decisions. Part of the reason that got us into trouble last time, the first time we did it, was because we actually were deciding we're not going to move this application on prior to actually meeting with the applicant. But I'm just trying to say, look, you don't even have to do homework. You just need to come ready to review these applications as a group, and kind of dive in.
That would be a public meeting, right?
Yeah.
So then we have to be really careful about making any opinions, just stating facts.
Well, I mean, I think we could still talk about what we thought of the application.
Can't vote.
Yeah, we just won't be voting on it because they've got a statutory right to present to us before we voted.
I mean, we state opinions during the interview process.
But they're here. What I'm thinking is.
Well, they could be here if they wanted to when we were reviewing their application. It's just it wouldn't be time for them to answer questions.
I'm just wondering if, so let's say we see issues in the app, and people say that. Then when the interview comes, we ask about those same things, but can people say their minds were made up before we ever got a chance to be interviewed? As a group, their minds were made up before they ever got a chance to be interviewed.
I mean, I think after, I don't think so. I mean, I guess they could. I mean, they can say whatever they want.
Yeah, but I mean, would
You know.
would it have any merit?
But I mean, I'm, I guess we still all need to keep an open mind. I mean, there's been a lot of times that I've thought, there's no way I'll approve this application when I reviewed it, and then when I met the board and they got to talking and I found out, oh, well, gosh, I didn't understand this. They understand it when they explained it to me, a different way than I understand it, and then approved them, so I think the same thing could happen.
I agree, and I don't think they could do it any more than they could currently find any fault in the process. And I know from time to time, we've had a school maybe say they wish the board members had read it more in depth rather than external reviewers, and then we read a summation or something, and so they can always wonder how the process worked. But I think this is probably more open and more transparent.
If I was an applicant, I'd be psyched. I'd be like, these people are going to talk publicly about my application before I have to answer questions. I'm going to be able to come in more prepared to. Yeah. I mean, I feel like if anything, it's like, are we giving away the, but in reality, we shouldn't be hiding the ball. We shouldn't be like, it should be very clear. This is what we're looking for, and be prepared for it.
And as a new member, this year I know I felt like I was kind of reading in a silo.
Yeah.
And so it would be very helpful to have more substantive discussion.
That's my
with the
hope.
board.
Yeah, my hope is that it allows us to have some more depth, hoping that the breadth is not as necessary, that we don't have an overwhelming number of applications, which I don't anticipate we will, but have more depth. It is partially kind of a training process but to do it out of the kind of high stakes situation where you're the board there and you're on a clock to like basically make a decision about the application. I mean, I think in a lot of cases we'll be like, we might walk away saying, yeah, let's, I have some questions about this and this and this and this, and, I have some misgivings about this part, but I like this part, and, we all have something to think about and maybe before the interview, but a lot of times we still have those and then we're kind of, again, running against a ticking clock of 15 minutes. Okay, well, you got 3 minutes to decide whether or not you want to interview them again. So I'm hoping to kind of push that discussion and process up a little bit. I think structurally we would have to decide. I think it would just depend on the number of, Sherry was asking, this committee review is not gonna happen in July. Sherry, I think that we would have to decide how we wanna structure it. I think based on the number of apps, if we don't have too many, we should be able to kind of 20, 30 minutes per app, just kind of work our way through. Through each one. I guess if we had to divide into committees, we could, but the preference would be to not to have to do that.
I think that's where we keep having the issues. When we are split into committee.
Right. Well, then you check out, and one committee knows the app well, and then it's kind of like, okay, do I really need to go back and read this? And
We didn't want to get that far in the weeds on this timeline, as far as when we had the work session. We figured that we could work it out with leadership and the entire board. But this is the timeline, and it internally, we have discussed that at our July meeting would probably, when we had that work session for everybody to go over the applications, because that July meeting is not a heavy meeting as far as voting on things, so, and we need to, and we might have to look at whether meeting at the association is the best thing to do, knowing that applications have been moved up, or, I think that's a discussion we can have, internally and with leadership.
yeah, that might not be the best time to do that. Also, how do we broadcast it when we're there?
We've recorded it, broadcasted it.
I feel like it'd be nicer to be here if we could. So should we wait and decide on the actual date of that, or just kind of tentatively say it's gonna be at the association meeting and then?
I think if we can, if you're comfortable approving this overall timeline, like when we're starting and when we're finishing, the logistics of it in between,
Yeah.
I think we can work out.
So we would meet potentially the first day of the association meeting, the 19th?
Potentially. Or the second, Monday probably. I think the 19th is a Sunday. So this has us with the SB voting in December. The state board votes in December on this timeline?
Yes.
On the apps.
So, the state
On
board will
regular
vote on
applications.
applications?
Yeah, and right.
Yeah, we were hoping that we can get the process done. They'll discuss in December, vote in January.
And that would be great. I
That's
think that
the
would
goal.
be fantastic. And if we can pull that off this year, we can definitely, if we can move the date up even more. Cause like you look at this month's agenda, it's pretty light. This could be a work session on a new set of apps right now. Great. So basically, you'll kind of give us some suggestions on how to break things down in terms of structure, dates, time, more specifics, but we're gonna move up the submission date and the kind of initial review work and deadline, and then move up the kind of goal to try to get it to the state board.
Also, to confirm what I think I heard a gentleman say, once submissions are made June 29th, then external reviews take place until July 6th, and that's the window for the external reviews of all applications.
Yes.
You're gonna pay them more or something? They're gonna be working. Give them that short time frame, just get it done, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's probably.
Marathon.
It's probably better, just knock it out rather than drag it out.
What else are they doing on the week of the 4th, right?
Yep.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think this looks good.
David, I have a question, or staff just process, so now the ready to open year is actually like a ready to open year and a half for regular applicants. Do you anticipate adding additional support requirements throughout that 18 months versus 12, or is it sort of the same process, just spread out over, or you don't, or the answer is you don't know yet?
We don't anticipate more requirements, but we hope we can give more support. So we don't anticipate RTO to be longer. We will have to sit down and see, do we need to move it up a little bit? But the biggest reason that we want to do that is so the applicants can get their state board approval, so they can start meeting with their financiers, their builders, whoever they need to meet with a approved application, and then we'll start the RTO process. We haven't talked internally about would we move it up, so we don't. This is not an opportunity for us to have more requirements on RTO. But hopefully more support.
Got it. Thank you.
I mean, I know we've got some time. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I move that we go into closed session to discuss with our attorneys, attorney-client privileged matters.
Second?
All right. All in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chair, I move we go back into open session.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. So, based on our early discussion, I'm going to ask that
Do we need to turn the streaming back on? There it goes. Okay.
I'm going to ask. Yeah, in a moment, I'll ask for a motion to approve the timeline as outlined by the Office of Charter Schools, and that the Office of Charter Schools would also. This doesn't need to be part of the motion, but I'm going to ask Dave's team to pull together some structure for us on kind of what the required preparation for board members prior to our work session, what the kind of how we would break down the time allotments and the kind of a loose protocol of what would happen during those work sessions, as well as the subsequent interviews, round 1, round 2. So just, one pager on what those pieces look like would be helpful, and what board members need to do to be prepared. And I think we can decide on whether or not we need to break the preparation and the work into where we're having certain people read certain apps based on the number of apps we get. If we only have 10 apps, we can all just read all of them. If we have 20, we can divide it between 2 committees prior to the work session, come into the work session together, and then everybody can kind of be up to speed on every app. So if Mr. Machado, if your folks could work on that, that would be great, and we can see that next month. So otherwise, we'll appreciate a motion on approving the timeline.
Contingent upon the fixing of the July 20th, 2020 date that's in there, I move we approve the deadline, or the proposed charter application timeline.
I'll
I'll second that.
All right, everybody's saying it. We'll go with Miss Rita for the record, and any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Time is 10 o'clock, and 10:03, so we'll hear amendments from Ms. Beccaro.
All right, good morning.
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 We have several amendments today. So let's just get started, and please all the materials online, and if you have any questions, let me know.
No.
The first one I'm going to present is from Community Public Charter. You've seen several amendments like this because Team CFA has changed their business practices and will no longer be operating as a CMO. So the charter school Team CFA Community Public Charter would like to terminate its relationship with Team CFA and then also take the Team CFA out of its name. There's not going to be a major change to how the school is actually operating. The school is working with Greg Senders to assist in the transition, and they have already contracted for services that they would, Power School, HR, that sort of thing.
Great. All right, so any discussion? So do we want to do one, we can't do them as a bunch, we need to do them one by one?
Definitely on that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve those amendments.
Second.
Properly moved in second, any discussion? All in
I
favor?
noted there were no changes in their budget other than removing the contract fee, so is that something they will just do internally?
I don't believe they were paying, were they paying like Team CFA I don't believe that was something in their budget.
Okay, could we look at page 64 to 69 of their budget and just assure that, be assured of that?
Is your question, Ms. Here, that in the budget, it shows that they're paying a fee to Team CFA because they're their CMO?
Yes. So on the tracked changes in their application, they tracked everything that changes because of this new structure, but the budget didn't change, except for the fact there was a deletion.
And they haven't been paying,
And they will be obviously using other services now and instructional support, which is mentioned.
Right.
So maybe that comes later.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So on that tracked application on their page 64, the management company contract fee of $250,000 in year one, $310 in year two, they've deleted it out, but that's the only change to the budget, which we know there'll be other changes, so I just assume that those will be included later.
I'm assuming so. I don't, to be honest, I don't know what specific budgetary changes they're making.
but Team CFA hasn't been providing any of those internal services such as accounting services, Power School, those sort of things. So
Right,
they
so
have,
what
they have been
what about instructional
contracting that out right
support?
now.
I don't believe they were providing instructional support.
Teams, no, they were not.
Okay, so the tracked changes say that, on page 21, the instructional support staff will pick up with professional development, instructional coaching, Singapore math, professional development on pre-service days, et cetera, et cetera. So I just assumed there'll be other costs associated with that they didn't have previously. If Team CFA, you say they weren't providing it, then the track changes really don't make sense.
I believe part of this is because this is a first-year operating school, and as they began operating, Team CFA was already moving out of that, like, management company space. So that would be my assumption as to why there aren't a lot of changes financially, because I don't believe Team CFA was actually providing those services.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion or questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We can just do these by voice.
Yeah.
Next one?
Okay, the next one is Endeavor Charter School. They are requesting to increase their enrollment. Endeavor is a charter school operating in Wake County. They serve grades K to 8. They have been operating since 2008. They are a high-performing school, and they are requesting an enrollment growth greater than 30%, which requires by statute state board approval. However, it is not for this upcoming school year. It is for the following school year in 2021. But they are beginning a facility improvement and addition, and so they wanted to, before making that investment, they wanted to have assurances that they would be approved for it. It is a 39% enrollment increase, so 9% over what they could do on their own. That would take place in 2021 for a total of 780 students. And this year, they had almost 1,500 applicants, and were able to only offer seats to 88 students.
Move we approve. Recommend approval, sorry.
Probably moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next one is Achievement Charter Academy. This is a school that is opening next year. It is serving grades K to 5 in Harnett County. And they're requesting 2 changes. One is to add a weighted lottery. Their goal for their weighted lottery is to mirror the LEA, which serves approximately 60% of low-income students. So they will, currently, based on their applications, they project they already have 35% students qualifying for free and reduced lunch, so they will increase that amount by 20% with the weighted lottery, and then increasing every year by 5% until they reach that 60% target, which would mirror the local LEA. So that is their weighted lottery request. Their second request is regarding the National Free and Reduced Lunch Program. And per the state board policy, any school that would like to make changes to their application regarding the National School Lunch Program must bring that request to state board. So they originally had wanted to partner with the National School Lunch Program, but because their facility doesn't have really the space, they don't have the kitchen space and the operational staff that they need to pull that off, they've decided to change their lunch program. And so they have come up with I think a rather innovative program where they would give parents or families that qualify for free or reduced lunch an option of either getting a credit through My Hot Lunch Box, so they would get lunch just as any other paying student would receive, or parents can elect to receive a $50 gift card to the local grocery store if they would prefer to pack lunches for their children. So either way, there would be, there should be no kind of visible difference between the lunches that a free and reduced lunch student is receiving and a paying student.
Okay. Has the child nutrition department kind of discussed this with them, or?
No, I mean, I don't think so, because they would need to, I mean, they hadn't even started the process to, they just started the process and realized they were not going to have the outfit of that would make it work. So there's really a need for them to discuss it with them.
I was real skeptical of the gift card thing until I went, and they mentioned this in their letter too. I was at one of the Ready to Open presentations. I just dropped by, and it just happened to be, I stayed through Buffy's thing. That was, it. And she talked about how they did that at Francine Delaney and how successful it was. And she kind of sold me on it. So, I mean, I think it can work when you do it the right way. And so I would move that we recommend approval of both these amendments, the weighted lottery and the nutrition program.
I'll second.
I just have one question about
Properly moved and second, any discussion?
have they figured out how the change in the lunch program will impact the budget? Do they anticipate a change?
I think they submitted a revised budget as part of their materials. And they did account for that. It should be in the very back of the packet. Yeah, they've, for year one, they've budgeted $40,000, and then it goes up each year. Then the next year, $50,000, $55,000.
All right, any discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
The next one is Alamance Community School. They are also a ready-to-open school that is planning to open this upcoming year with grades K to 3. They originally had estimated or projected 400 students for year one, but now that they have begun, or now that their facility is being built, they realize that they have additional space, and so they're asking for an enrollment increase to prevent any type of financial hardships. It would be an enrollment increase of 60 students, same grade levels, K to 3. They said at this time they have over 520 applicants, with over 100 kindergarten students on the wait list. So they clearly have the student population that could fill those spots. That's why they're requesting
All
it.
right.
I think them having that many applications makes me comfortable with doing that. So I'll move we recommend approval of this amendment.
Second?
All right. Any discussion? All in
Again,
favor?
I didn't see any changes to the budget in this one as well. If they increased kindergarten, it wasn't reflected in the revenue for 60 additional kindergartners,
Okay.
or in the expenses of new teaching staff. instructional staff. I didn't see any reflection of changes in the budget.
Okay, I'll contact the school about that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next one.
The next one is from Commonwealth High School and Stewart Creek High School. They are both charter schools operating in Charlotte. They serve high-risk populations and are designated alternative under the state's accountability model. They are asking to change their EMO. It's very much a change in name. It is the current EMO, which is Accelerated Learning Solutions, Inc., has agreed to sell its charter management business to ALS Education, LLC. The schools have both done their due diligence and, after looking at different options, decided to consent to this assignment. The president of the current EMO will become the CEO of the new company. The current management team at the EMO will remain the same, and the only difference in the organization structure is that the current CEO is retiring, and the current president, who runs the day-to-day operations of the company, and I think has been with the company for almost 2 decades, will become the new CEO. So the organizational charts were included in the information that was provided to you, as well as information on the 2 investment companies and the ALS company itself, EMO.
After reviewing everything, to me, it looks like it's just changing the name. I mean, it's changing the corporate structure of the EMO and the name. It's the same people, same plans, same everything. So I move that we recommend approval of this amendment.
All right, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Central Wake, the same thing.
Yes, Central Wake is the same exact thing, they just have a different board.
Move we recommend approval.
Okay.
Yes.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the last amendment request comes from the Institute for the Development of Young Leaders. This is a K-8 school in Durham, and they are seeking to expand to high school. The statute that governs expansion allows expansion automatically by one grade level if a school meets 3 requirements. One is that it's operated for at least 3 years. One is that it's not continually low performing, and the other is that it's been in financial compliance. The Institute for the Development of Young Leaders has operated for 3 years and is in financial noncompliance. However, it has been designated as continually low performing, which is why they must make this this request to the state board rather than an automatic allowance to expand. They submitted a pretty thorough high school packet and plan. They were approved in 2013, and they have since operated with K-8. They want to expand next year to include 9th grade with a total of 30 students. After that, it would be 40 students in each grade of high school, moving up 1 grade level at a time. They have presented a plan, really, that they believe addresses the unmet emotional, behavioral, social, and mental health needs of children. They serve a high economically disadvantaged population. They have stated in their materials that 20% of their students are actually homeless. They also have provided information about why they believe they should be approved despite the academic standings. And I have some, in the packet, I have submitted the last 5 years of academic information for your review. Each year since 2014, they have exceeded or met growth. However, the performance grade has been a D or an F, which is why they are continually low performing. And finally, they believe that there is a community need for the high school. They state that in the state of North Carolina, there are currently 51 public charter schools schools that serve grades K to 8, but there are none in the same demographic area that serve the same demographic population. And they mention other schools in different counties that serve similar populations, but state that there's not one that would meet the needs of the students in Durham.
And they currently have an interim school leader, right?
Yes, I believe,
And it's Tom Miller. I mean, and we talked to him last week as
Yes.
part of the Continue Low Performing. I guess, the two kind of concerns that I have is one, and this is nothing about Tom Miller, who I think's a great guy. It's that you're in a period of transition. You've got an interim school leader, so you've got that. So basically, you're talking about plugging in a brand-new school leader at the same time you're trying to open a high school and do this.
Struggling with the K-8.
When you're struggling with the K-8, and I think that's the other problem is that you're making progress on the K-8, and whether you're going to be jumping and biting off too much at one time without even knowing who the permanent school leader is going to be, and I think that's what gives me a lot of pause on this. And they're trending about 15% behind Durham schools in their proficiency.
This high school is really expensive. They're only gonna have 30.
30,
which
that's
means it
mine.
will not pay for itself, which means they're gonna have to pull money out of the K-8 to pay for it when they're already struggling with the K-8. I don't think this is a great idea.
Yeah, that's my hesitation because the number is so low.
In addition to that, in looking at their comprehensive report, they have a number of practices. It's very aggressive, and I only know the school on paper, and it looks like they have great ambitions. But a lot of the implementation status goes back to 2017, and there's no update, which would say to me they have not achieved the completion of those practices yet, and they're critical to their success at the K-8 level. It's a very thorough report, but there are a lot of practices that aren't there yet.
I agree with all those points. I also think that we've just got to be really thoughtful about what we present to the state board, and I think from a credibility standpoint, we have to have an extremely strong case when we're suggesting that a school that's low performing be recommended to open a high school. I honestly can't think of a situation where we would want to do that. I think the only situation might be if it was like an alternative learning environment. And it almost sounds like that's partly what they're describing. So if they would like to run an alternative high school, that I feel like there is a significant need for that type of situation. I don't think the state board would approve it, to be totally honest, in my estimation, and I think it's problematic. We want to avoid as often as much as possible situations where we're bringing them something that we're concerned we're not going to gain approval for.
Yeah,
So
I would move that we recommend to the state board that they not approve this amendment.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. All right.
that's all I have for you.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Well,
Any opposed?
any opposed? Okay. You're right. All right. All set? Okay. Policy committee. Yeah. Policy committee report to the board.
All right.
You got 6 minutes.
I can do this in 6 minutes. Basically, what we did is we had a meeting on Thursday. It was a conference call meeting, and we went through section by section of the charter agreement and flagged places that we thought we needed to talk about today at 12:15 when we have committee work, so that we could sit down and talk about it. And so we saw a few issues. We saw some things that probably just in practice did match up with what was in the charter agreement, so some technical things we needed to change. The address was wrong on there, and some stuff like that that we needed to fix. And then also we talked more about making sure that charter schools have flexibility, making sure that it's crystal clear in there that they have flexibility on employment matters. that, nothing in the charter agreement would be construed to require a charter school to, be anything other than an at-will employer unless they decide they want to provide something different. So we're gonna be working through that. We have, we said we would welcome public comment, today during the committee, time. And then I think the plan is gonna be that we'll talk more about this today and then, hopefully by next month, have something actually concrete in writing that we think would be a new charter agreement and, get it done in time that legal can look over it and make sure that they're, good with all the suggestions. But I think it's been a good process so far. We jokingly said at the end, we've done something that most people in the charter world probably hadn't. We've read through the entire charter agreement, and we sat there and did that. So I think it was good, and I think it's going to be good when we get together today to have some more discussion on it, and get some public comment, and find out what's going on. So, did I miss anything? Pretty much. All right, so that's what we did, and so I think we'll probably decide today in our committee work if we need to have another conference call meeting to discuss the proposed changes that we come up with, so, before the next meeting. All right, so that's that. I guess we can, tell you what, anybody be all right with a 5-minute break?
Be great.
All right, we'll come back at 10:33.
Lunches, it kills me.
That's the high school lunch. Lunch one.
8th grade lunch.
And then we got a couple like, guy with diabetes and pre-diabetes, and then it's like 11:30, like, hey, eat lunch.
I'm not a big breakfast eater, that's why lunch is gotta be early.
Yeah, I've been doing this intermittent fasting stuff. All right, we're ready. We're ready. Welcome.
Great. My name is Laura Hunter. I am the principal at the Girls Leadership Academy of Wilmington, or GLOW Academy. I'm joined today by Kim Nelson, who's the chairman of our board. And we're here to give you some data and talk to you about how we are steadily making progress towards the end game, right? So just a little background. We opened our doors to 100 incoming 6th grade girls in 2016. We have steadily grown by a grade level every year. This year we added our high school program for 9th graders. We are a single gender public charter school. In fact, we're the only single gender public charter school in the state of North Carolina. And we are an all girls school. We started in a facility that was about 12,000 square feet. This year, in August, we moved into the facility that you see in front of you, which is greater than 60,000 square feet. So we have been growing steadily as a school. So what you see here are some pictures of our new campus, and it's beautiful. We were in really a shoebox of a building before. So now we have green space, which is amazing, and we have a lot of different facilities that add to the experience that our girls get. Just so that you have a little bit of background information, we are a school that predominantly serves kids that live at or below the poverty line. Our free and reduced lunch population is about 80%. We have about 50% of our student body that are African American, about 30% are white, and about 20% are Latina. We are part of a sister network of schools nationwide called the Student Leadership Network, formerly the Young Women's Leadership Network. And those schools are either district public schools or charter schools that all share a similar model, which is to work with students that come out of generational poverty, predominantly girls, and help them to graduate, go to college, and then claim places in professional career paths that are shifting for their whole family, not just for themselves. To achieve that, we have a lot of wraparound programs. So, of course, we educate girls, but we do so in a beautiful facility. We provide transportation for our students. We have a free breakfast and free lunch program for all of our students on campus. We're a community school. We provide a free after-school program for our students, and we have a lot of other wraparound programs, including a college-bound program that starts in 6th grade, summer enrichment programs for our girls to explore other kinds of things, from outward bound experiences to career building experiences. So we are holistically educating girls through their middle school years, which can be a little rocky for girls, and into our high school experience. Any questions about that?
No, that facility.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, no doubt. What you see
I'm
here.
having some serious pangs of.
It is pretty amazing. What you see down in the bottom corner is we have a state-of-the-art culinary test kitchen. So all of our middle school girls and our high school girls are engaged in cooking as science at our school. And that's because the founder of our school is the head of, the former president of HGTV and the Food Network. So we have this really incredible experience for our girls that get to, they get their hands on and making lots of incredible food for us. In the middle there, you see our girls in our maker space, STEM labs. We have another really incredible space on our campus. We actually have 2 labs. We have a wet lab and an engineering lab. This is our engineering and coding lab, where, again, girls are getting their hands on some pretty amazing technology so that they can feel comfortable in that, hopefully as a career when they graduate from high school.
What's you said 60,000 square feet? What's the student capacity?
So when we're fully built out as a program, we are looking to have around 700 students total on our campus.
And What, did you fully fundraise that facility? I mean,
So it's a hybrid, half and half. And Kim can probably speak more to exactly what the ratio is, but half of that, maybe even more than half, was fundraised, and the other was borrowed.
what's the, okay. That's great. It's a beautiful facility.
Thanks. We like it.
I don't want to go back to
To-
work. I'm sorry.
It'll do.
I'm like, do you have any
couple-
job openings?
Don't say that.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
A thought with the charter school conference out in Wilmington this July,
Yeah.
you might want to set up a little tour of the campus, and if you have a summer program going on with the kids in action, that would be really awesome, July 20th timeframe. Can you explain what you're doing to dig into the data for student performance and how that compares to the goals in your charter? Because clearly, you know, we're talking to you because we want to see those numbers better, and what steps are you taking to improve those?
Sure. So I'm ready to delve really deeply into that. So what you see up here is kind of a comparator from the past 3 years of data that we have. So we are currently in our 4th year of operation. In our first year with 100 kids and 6 faculty members, our school performance score was a total composite score of 53. Our second year, we really dropped down, in particular in 6th grade math, which was a significant area of deficit for us. Last year, we worked really hard with the introduction of an instructional coaching program, a strong focus on learning focused lesson planning framework, and a really strong look at kind of subgroups and kind of trying to wrap our heads around our math deficit in particular. We climbed up 5 points, and we're continuing to grow. So last year that was our focus. This year we have stepped back and done even more focus, looking at subgroup data. I'm going to skip over this and come back to it. If you look at our growth measures in our data, we're doing pretty good across the board when we're talking about growth, but there are some very specific areas that we recognize were areas of improvement. In particular, our 8th grade cohort in general last year underperformed. And in general, when we look at growth, we think this is a real missed opportunity for us. So while our kids are continuing to grow in terms of their proficiency, and our lowest quartile of kids across our subgroups are showing quite a bit of growth, our middle to high and our highest quartiles within our subgroups are not. So we have stepped back at the end of last year when we look at our data in the summer and talked about how while we are making some gains, most particularly in reading, but also in math, we need to increase the rigor for our highest performing students to help them to realize the growth that our lowest quartile is seeing.
So those, of those 8th graders, how many did you retain in 9th grade?
So we lost 12 students last year to other specialty programs in our region. And those were a lot of our high-performing kids, and that really speaks to that lack of growth in that 8th grade group.
For your 9th graders, are they, I'm assuming they're in Math 1 currently?
So with the exception of our kids that took Math 1 in 8th grade, our high school freshmen this year have been in a year-long Math 1 course because that is an area of growth for them. So while increasing our school performance score to greater than 55 this year is our big goal, our sub goal this year, our primary target has been to really look at growth in particular, not just proficiency. So what you see here is a heavy investment last year and an even heavier investment this year in really working with individual teachers to help them show growth and move forward. Our total school goal is greater than 1% for every teacher that is in a tested area, and that's a team effort across our school. So we have heavily invested in instructional coaching, working individually with teachers in lesson planning, increasing rigor, and differentiating for groups of kids That's an all hands on deck kind of moment. So we have an instructional coach that meets weekly with teachers in PLC. I meet every other week with teachers to do very specific data meetings, to look at data from a number of different points that we triangulate, making sure that our focus is on subgroups and quartiles within subgroups so that we're moving everybody's needle, not just one particular group of kids' needle. So we collect data from a lot of different places. We, of course, give NC check-ins across our school. We also utilize Ames Web for beginning of the year, middle of the year, and, of course, end of year. We use Ames Web as a project progress monitoring tool as well. What you see here is some data from first and second NC check-ins. We'll give our third set at the end of March. NC check-in data is good. It's hard when it's just comparator within your school. So it's a kind of an internal comparator. But we are seeing some growth between the first and the second, most particularly in reading, but also in math. Sixth grade math has gotten a lot of our attention. Those standards were not spiraled, so it was kind of two standalone assessments. But we are doing a lot of work to make sure that we are continuing to progress with our data in relationship to reading and math. We have a lot of action items that we are engaged in, but most particularly, it's all about working individually with teachers to make sure they're planning effectively, making sure they're increasing the rigor for those middle to high performing students, making sure that we're creating environments at our school that are rich in reading and supports. But across our school, math is a real focus. So we do a lot of things to increase math, not just in math class, but math across all of our content areas. We do math on the hour, which means that our social studies and science and electives teachers are charged with collecting data for our math teachers to continue to create rich environments for them to look at and study math. We have made math visible across our school with lots of different anchor charts and opportunities to review, including on the back of bathroom stalls as girls are going to the bathroom, they're reviewing math. So it's really important that they see and feel and experience math across our entire school. In particular, middle school is a tough time for girls when it comes to math and science education. We know this. Research is wide and deep on this particular issue. And a lot of times you see a slump with girls in relationship to math, but not because their skill set slides, but mainly because their mindset about their ability to engage with math and higher maths starts to slide. So we really worked hard on math mindset for our girls and helping them to have positive self-talk in relationship to their math ability. We're utilizing iExcel across reading and math as a way to differentiate and work on skills development for all of our girls. And that allows for our higher performing students to really push forward into the next grade level up or even 2 grade levels up to work on skills development as well. So across our school, we're growing, clearly. We are focused on a lot of areas of growth, building a robust high school program that works for our kids, and growing within that high school program, but also within our middle school program, specialty programs that really support all of the kids that are on our campus. So specialty programs include, we have an AVID program that is in full swing on our campus. We have an early risers program, so we have a partnership with an area community college to allow for our girls to get on their campuses doing STEM-related technology courses in 9th grade, which is unusual in our neck of the woods. We also have grown some sports programs this year, which has been important for our girls. You see in the picture here our middle school soccer team, which have a lot of growth to do themselves, but they were brave enough to take the field, which is important. We have transitioned from a small campus to a large campus, and while our campus is beautiful and has a lot of resources, a lot of our students miss the intimacy of that small campus, and so we have had to work to build culture on our large campus in a way that has been different and intentional, given that we're kind of spread out and don't see each other as much as we used to. Of course, increasing math growth and competencies is an area of continued focus for us. In general, we have a readiness score of about 40%, so our incoming sixth graders, only about 40% of them are on grade level when they enter into our schools, so this is an area of real focus for us. We see the pathway to that as supporting teacher growth and continuing to develop their skill set in order to increase rigor and differentiate their instructional planning so that they're meeting the different kinds of kids that are walking into their room. And then, of course, as we grow as a school and clearly grow as a campus, building sustainable school-wide systems that help our systems function appropriately and allow for the school leaders in our building to focus on supporting academic growth.
Great. Seems like you've dialed into some of the key and most important parts that you need to focus on to get that growth this year.
We hope so. And while I love you, I don't want to come back next year. So we're hopeful that this year we cross that finish line in a really strong standing.
All right. Excellent. Any other questions from the board?
I have a couple questions, just
Sure.
real quick. What's your sixth grade cohort retention rate from that? I imagine that would be very important.
So it has differed from year to year. So last year, we retained about 87% of our sixth graders into seventh grade. I will have to tell you that last year we dropped down in the total number of sixth graders that we admitted into our program because our building was so small. We made that cohort a little bit smaller.
Waiting list?
We do not have a waiting list.
My other question is about social emotional services and given the population that you serve, what do you provide there in the wraparound?
Sure. So this is an area of a particular focus for us. Whole girl development is one of the core parts of our model. So every day, our girls start out in leadership advisory, where we have a very specific curriculum that we work on, Girl Meets World, and Respect 360, which are really honed at supporting our girls' social and emotional development and their ability to navigate through their peer relationships and their parent relationships in middle school and in high school. So every kid on our campus goes to leadership advisory every day, but they also have an advisor that is any number of adults that are on our campus, including me. So I'm an advisor to some of our students. We have a strong restorative practices culture at our school. We have a restorative practices coordinator. We have a restorative learning center. That is all geared around supporting our kids socially and emotionally so they're able to engage in learning in meaningful ways. So outside of those pieces, we also have a school social worker on campus. We have a number of MSW interns that are on our campus supporting that work as well. We have a guidance counselor on campus. We have a college-bound counselor on campus. We have a relationship with a local health, mental health provider, and we have one-to-one trauma-based therapy that happens on our campus for about 29 students. That happens 3 days a week. We run a number of intervention programs on our campus through local agencies to support groups of kids, including Project Ventures, just a lot of wraparound programs. Yeah.
All right.
I have a question. Lots of great information today,
Sure.
by the way. How long have you been principal here at Glow?
So I'm the founding principal.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You still have the same executive director?
Mm-hmm. Todd is still on board as well. Yeah.
Okay. Sort of in conjunction with what Heather was asking, what does GLOW do in relationship to communicating with parents and engaging the girls with their families, parents and families?
So this is an area of, again, real focus for whole girl development. So we have a lot of parental engagement opportunities at our school. We run a monthly parent university program at our school. So all of that programming is geared around helping parents to feel confident in supporting their girls' college-going readiness. Sometimes those programs are based around social and emotional growth. Sometimes just legal stuff related to social media savvy and being in the game. And sometimes it's about curriculum and helping parents to feel confident, helping their girls with math homework or helping their girls with science projects. We do that. We have a heavy amount of communication with parents. Sometimes parents maybe even say we over-communicate, which I think is a good thing, not a bad thing, especially in middle school. Although my students would probably say dial back on the communication. We communicate with parents every week about school-wide initiatives via text, phone call, and email. We also have weekly newsletters that go out from each of our grade levels that communicate exactly what's happening with curriculum that week. And then, of course, our high school program utilizes Remind and does daily, sometimes, communication with parents as well. We have a parent, I call it PTA Lite. We have a parent group that does a lot of programs at our school that are culture building programs. We have hosted, just in this year, we host movie nights out on that big green quad. We have had a holiday market to support our families in our school. And then we have resources in our school to help them as well. We have access to laundry facilities on campus. We have access to shower facilities on campus. And of course, our social work program supports parents in connecting with local agency resources.
That's great.
Great. All right. Any other questions? Keep working that plan. We're excited to see that high growth this year.
Me too. Thanks.
What's your enrollment number this year?
We are 298.
All right. Thank you.
I like how she could tell you the exact number.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but I'm not quite sure. Most principals know.
451.
Next week, I'm sorry.
If you can't tell me the number, that right there should be disqualifying. You need to know that every day. Okay. We have some state board updates and OCS updates.
Got a few announcements first. Jay and his wife had a little girl the other night. Eli Grace Whalen, and
All right.
everybody's doing great. And Jay will be on paternity leave for a little while, so that was good. Patricia has taken another position in the department, so she won't be at the Office of Charter School. So we do have an interim while we're looking for a new admin person. So if you have any issues and you don't feel like you're getting answered quick enough, be sure to contact me. And I will try to speed the process up. And I'm not sure if that very many members on the board heard the announcement but NC Cyber has a new interim superintendent. Martez Hill, he used to be at the department, is the interim superintendent. Okay?
That's good. That's good news.
As far as I know.
And why didn't I think?
They added, did they just add a position above him?
I know he was on administrative leave, and I'm assuming he's not there anymore, but I can't confirm that. Okay? Right, to give you some state board updates, the Hobgood recommendation to add a 9th and 10th grade was approved. Really want to thank Amy White for leading that discussion. They were approved to add a 9th and a 10th grade, which was their original amendment, but one grade at a time. And then after, in 2 more years when they want to add an 11th. If they are not low performing, they'll be able to do that without state board approval. So that was good news. They did approve Charlotte Labs amendment to add a 9th grade. And they also approved new charter applications for Huntersville High School, Peak Asheville, Telra Institute, City Charter, Oak Grove Charter, but they did not approve Clare Science Academy. Then as far as some OCS updates, we've been pretty busy the last several months. We've made renewal visits to Pine Springs, Unity Classical, Mallard Creek STEM, Matthews Charter, and Harbridge Charter. We've made risk assessment visits to Cabarrus Charter, Unity Community Charter, Charlotte Secondary, Concord Lake STEM, and Experimental School of Greensboro. And we also have made new school visits. Whenever school is in its first year of existence, we try to visit those schools also, and we visited Ridgeview Charter and Gaston County Community Public Charter, Apprentice Charter, Monroe Charter, Steel Creek Prep, and Southwest Charlotte STEM. And some of the other visits that our office has made is the North Carolina Leadership Academy in Kernersville, Coastal Prep, Roger Bacon Academies, Veritas, Invest Collegiate, Community School Davidson, and Bonnie Cohen Classical Academy. So you can tell we've been pretty busy. Any questions on that?
How many applications ultimately were approved?
That was
7?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 accelerations were approved,
So 7 total. Okay.
right? Yeah. And then in April, do we need a 1-day meeting or a 2-day meeting? 1? Or was that looks- yeah, I think so too. Okay. NC Access update. Dr. O'Neill's gonna give us a great update on where we are as far as applications the number we've received and what the process is right now.
Are we looking at the 13th for April?
The 6th.
It's 6.
6.
Okay, there's a chance I might not be there. Just heads up. If we want to move it, that's okay. We move.
You won't be there that day or
Yeah,
Monday?
yeah, the 6th. Yeah. We're supposed to go on a trip, but it depends on if the place we're going is not permitted to have
The
people.
following Monday is Easter Monday. So
Right.
The 6th is a good Monday.
We can
Monday
leave
the
it. It's
6th
fine.
is-
I'm just telling you now.
Excuse me?
If it's on the 6th, there's a strong possibility that I'm
What
not
about
gonna
the 7th or the 8th, or you won't be back?
be- We won't be. That's spring break for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not thinking we're
14.
gonna have a real heavy agenda.
It's going to be a lot of low-performing presentations and the RTO enrollment updates. I don't think anything else very aggressive.
Can we do by fall?
Some of this, like, other updates you've asked for schools to come back in. I believe you asked Charlotte Choice to come back in, SEK to come back in. Will be those sort of updates.
Yeah, you need that.
Yeah, those low performing, the low enrollment schools have to come back in April also, so be a lot of presentations. Okay.
Yeah, there's a strong possibility I'll be here. We're supposed to go on a trip, but we'll see.
So the meeting couldn't be moved, couldn't be adjusted?
I don't think we should. I think, yeah.
Let's not.
Are you going to Wuhan?
I'm not going to Wuhan, no.
That's the good news.
But we are supposed to leave the country, so I don't know. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah,
So we did determine it is April 6th, 1 day.
April
Thank
6th,
you.
1 day.
Okay.
All right. All right, we're ready. Access update?
Okay, so we go back, we had 50 letters of interest. 5 dropped out of the competition before the application deadline. 37 submitted an application, and 8 did not submit an application before the deadline. So now we're at 36. We were at 37, and if you remove Clara Science, we're now reviewing 36 applications. We have 8 reviewers, each reading 4 per week. I'm reading all of them and doing the summaries.
You're busy.
I'm very busy. I did it sort of an informal survey of the 8 people who did not apply because they didn't let us know that they were not going to apply. So I, kind of got the responses here of due to time constraints. 1, after discussing with all stakeholders, the board of directors has voted not to move forward with the grant. However, we may be interested in the future. 1 school, the resignation of our director in December, did not feel I was able to dedicate the time necessary. We're still interested, but it's a busy time for us, and it was not the right thing for us at this time. So, not because they didn't want to, it was because it was time consuming, and I think we stressed that throughout the application process that you cannot wait until the last minute to get this done. Any questions?
Nope.
So those were the initial ones that said they were interested, but then didn't go.
Yes.
Didn't come forward.
Mhm.
Cheryl, what kind of expansion are you doing?
About completeness, whether or not we made the completeness check, or you don't hear anything until the final thing?
Until the final, right. I'm kind of going through that right now and having to go back and review the reviewers' comments to make sure that they completed everything in the application. But if something was missing that we can add to it, like one person had to send me their logic model via email because they couldn't go back in to resubmit. So if I find things like that, I will let you submit that.
Can you explain, or give us an update on how many apps we had last year and this year, and what our goal is of, 60 total? Can you
Yes.
tell us kind of where we are?
Last year, we had 24 submissions. We accepted 9. The other 24 were not eligible. I mean, other than that 9, I think we're not eligible. But this year, we did a really good job of going through all the report cards to make a list of who was eligible. And we really targeted those groups.
Yeah, you did a lot more strategic recruitment. So
Right.
Your conversion rate should be higher this year.
Mm-hmm. We got some really good applications so far.
Great. We're excited to see how this what the outcomes are.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Thank you.
We've had some pretty good press on this the last,
Yeah, the article in the Charlotte Observer was very positive.
There was a big thing on WFAE too.
yeah,
Long
and did a
story.
nice job on
WFAE.
that.
Any more questions?
Great.
Thank
Thank you.
So with Jay being out, and then Amelia, she resigned due to her mom's having health issues. Dr. O'Neill and Mariama are a 2-man team right now, so we're we're trying to get those positions, that one position filled, and filling it. But I really, Access team has done a fantastic job, and with Dr. O'Neill leading the recruiting process, very pleased with our.
Wonderful. Great
Great.
job.
Okay, now the last is a performance framework update. Joseph?
Morning, CSAP. We don't have a PowerPoint because we know you don't care for PowerPoint presentations. Really quick update. Really good.
Trained
good
him
news
well.
to
I mean, I can do a really good PowerPoint. I'm just,
Just really
in general.
quick.
PowerPoints are fine when they're 1 or 2 slides.
Right.
We have a very positive update. We finished our review of the 2018-19 school performance framework reports, and not only did we have twice as many as the previous year meet all 21 up to 21 that we track governance and operational measures as well as financial. we had 35 schools meet every single one of the measures that are tracked, including the academic ones, which are called, we refer to that as exceeding performance framework expectations. And one thing that we did differently this year, or we are doing, and this is the first time this is being announced publicly, is we are releasing to the schools a picture badge, a picture file of a badge showing that they exceeded performance framework expectations. These are for schools that meet all of the measures, including academic, as one little extra piece they can use on their website and marketing materials to demonstrate to stakeholders that they value accountability. And I believe you have the list of those schools rather than read off 35 names, but they are on eBoard for anyone in the public who would like to see those schools. And they will each be getting an email with their badge that they can use on their website and marketing materials. And we really hope to encourage other schools to see this as one thing to look forward to with performance framework rather than just worry about getting all the documentation turned in. This is something that we think that schools should be proud of, and that's the direction we are moving it in. So unless you have any questions, just wanted to give you a quick happy update on that.
I have a question more
Yes,
for
sir.
the board. Those of y'all that have participated in it, did it seem a little less onerous this year?
I think Epicenter made it a lot easier. Epicenter made it much easier process.
We've had really good feedback across the board
And
on
getting things
Epicenter.
in just like one or two things at a time has been better too.
Good. And we wanted to
Absolutely.
stagger out the schedule this year, and we were able to do that. We're always looking at ways to improve the process while maintaining consistency and expectations.
When I took this job 4 years ago, one of the first phone calls I fielded was from my great friend Joe Mamoni saying, "Dave, what are you doing to us? This performance framework is too hard." Not too hard, but terrible timing. It's due in June. And I just want to, that's been a goal of our office, is to make this a lot user-friendly. And Joseph has done a fantastic job making it so much more user-friendly. Epicenter's helped a tremendous amount. We're putting exemplar policies in Epicenter so people can see that, so they give them some help. So again, I want to publicly thank Joseph for moving this process along, so we don't have to duck when we say the word performance framework anymore.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you all.
All right.
Look at that, right on schedule. Whoa.
To the minute.
Even though that says
Ready for
10,
lunch?
Hey, this one over here is correct.
Is the plan, are we planning on coming back in here after the committee work, or is the plan just when the committees are done individually that they're gonna go on?
I think we should just adjourn.
I think we adjourn now.
Well, then,
Yeah, let's
I
adjourn
move
now.
that the Charter School Advisory Board adjourn, subject to the committee meetings in the afternoon after lunch. And that those that when those committees have finished their work for the day and the committee adjourns, that therefore the CSAB adjourns. Does that work, lawyers? Is that okay? All right, well, that's my motion then.
That'd be okay.
In the committee
Did
work,
you get all that, Ashley?
was it performance committee is going to be in the lounge, and we're going to be recording that meeting, and then Mr. Walker's committee will be meeting here, and it will be live streamed. Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have a second?
Alex seconded it.
Oh, sorry. Second. All in favor?
Aye. Again.
Stephen,
We're gonna run
I'm
it.
scheduled to go to both committee meetings. Where do y'all want me to go?
It's the lady that gave the
Well, they
NC
asked me to come to RTO because I had been through RTO. Nobody else on this committee had.
People's names, and I don't understand. It's kind of low. Okay.
Oh, no, that's right. No, don't.
Sure.